Well, my name is Sharice Harrison Nelson, and I'm also known as Queen Reesie, and I wear a lot of hats. I'm the Maroon Queen of the Guardians of the Flame Maroon Society. Since 1991, I've been the queen. But I grew up in the tradition. My father started in 1949. I'm the third of five generations in my family known to participate. So my daddy started in 1949. My son started in 1989, and I started in 1991. It is an act of resistance. It's an act of self-determination and a way of being self-actualized. Many people say they mask, but I consider myself unmasking because I'm bringing forth who I am or who I choose to be for that year. And so it's my truth. What does it mean? Everything on the suit means something. So every year I embrace one of the Orishas. An Orisha is a deity within the African spiritual practices. So they call them Loas in Haiti, different names in different parts of the world. I've always tried to embrace the Orishas, but one year we were wearing red and we cut with black. And cut means you use a second color. And I cut with black and the children cut with purple. And he said, "Oh, this is so appropriate. This is a legba, eshu. A legba is a Orisha for at the crossroads." And that was the year we were going from a cultural arts society and rebranding, renaming ourselves a Maroon Society. Because if you put a period at the end of the most common narrative is when the slaves ran away. If you put a period there, that is by definition a Maroon, someone who self-emancipates themselves. And I felt like that really was who we are and what we're about. We call ourselves the Maroon Society as opposed to Mardi Gras Indians. I always kind of disliked that term for myself, and I'm not saying it's wrong for anyone else, but it never seemed to capture what I was doing. During my father's time, they called it masking Indian. Then, for commercial purposes, it was branded by, people who were making money off of it. The tradition, not the actual participants, but the people who commodified the tradition. It was branded as Mardi Gras Indians because they came out on Mardi Gras Day. The reason we call ourselves Maroons is because all of the people of African descent who self-emancipated themselves, as the song said, they would not bow down to being enslaved. The most common narrative is that they ran away and they were assimilated into Native American groups of the region. But that's not the case for all of them. Some of them did self-emancipate, free themselves, and they lived in the borderlands of the plantation, and they still had contact with their loved ones or others who maybe they brought them food or just to still be engaged with them in some way. And others went to the swamps and marshes and lived. So this whole narrative of they were assimilated by Native Americans, it's not the sum total of the truth for everyone. And it also, for me, perpetuates this whole missionary narrative that people of African descent need to be saved. When I was very young, maybe 18 years old, I heard he called himself then Stokely Carmichael speak at a lecture series at Southern University. And he made an analogy. He told a story. He said, if a cat has babies in the oven, what do you call them? You don't call them biscuits, you call them kittens. If an African is born in America, they're still African. Geographic location doesn't change your identity. So I really embraced that. That just made so much sense because as a person of African descent born in America, I have issues with identity. So how do you classify yourself? I call myself an American African. So I want to hang my hat on that, the part of that, that's from my motherland, because many of the things associated with this tradition, the beating, the narrative drumming, the songs, the dances, a lot of that, most of it, is the present day manifestation and imperial evidence that in our genes, in our DNA, in our very bones, we carry the memory of our ancestral homeland. The thing that I think most individuals need to know is that it's a community where an elder, Mr. Ike, said, where there's black on black love. It's a community where you show people how much you love them.